everyone, this is Des, and you are listening to the Wellness Project powered by Spotlight Coalition. I have some very exciting news to share. For the first time ever, I am offering a group program. I realize that many people are stressed, burned out, overwhelmed, and just plain exhausted. Sadly, many people don't have support from others, a healthy outlet, or a way to cope with the stresses of their everyday lives. If you can relate, then don't hesitate to sign up for the Mindful Monday Power Up group. This 4-week group will not only give you the support and encouragement you've been craving, but it will also provide you with a safe space to express yourself, healthy coping skills, practical tips you can implement into your daily life, and that sense of community you've been longing for. Create a life you love. Sign up for the waitlist today. You can find the link in the show notes, and I can't wait to see you there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I have a very special guest, Daniela Wolf. I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation because Daniela gets honest and open with us about her difficult time when she went through a divorce and it left her a single mom of 2 small children. She became really overwhelmed and burned out and realized that she needed change in her life. So she's going to talk to us all about that. And whether you are a mom or not, I think that this topic will be really important for you to listen to because we've all been there. We've all felt overwhelmed with all the tasks and responsibilities and obligations. It gets overwhelming. And I've talked about this before on the podcast that I think we're going through some cultural burnout right now. It just seems like everybody is burned out and struggling. So if you are one of those people that's struggling, found yourself burned out and anxious and just trying to do it all of your chores and errands and obligations and responsibilities and work, whether you are a parent or not, definitely tune in because Daniela is going to give us so many great words of wisdom and advice and strategies that we can implement into our everyday lives. So let's talk with Daniela and get some amazing tips from her. All right, everyone. I am here with Daniela Wolf. Thank you so much, Daniela, for joining me today.
Thank you, Desiree. I'm so excited to get to chat with you today.
I am as well. So I just want to start out hearing your whole story. So can you just give us a background for our listeners here today?
So a couple of things about me. My name's Daniela. I've been a social worker for 26 years. I work at a high school, trained in all things mindfulness, self-care, stress management, coping skills, all of that. I'm also a mom of 2. My kids are older now. They're about 20 and 16. I love to travel, hike, stand-up paddleboard, and read. Part of my story is, the transformation and journey I went on to get to where I am now was back when my kids were younger, about 4 years old and 6 months old. I went through a divorce and I was a single working mom with 2 super little kids. And I found over time, I was not managing it well. I had this mindset that I had to prove something, that I had to kind of do it all, be it all, take care of everything and show people that I was capable of handling it all. But I also found I was probably not coping in some of the best ways possible. I was drinking more than I should. I was irritable. I was snapping. I was overwhelming myself to the point of burnt out. I had kind of an aha moment during the storm that we had, and I was trying to take care of the kids, keep the house warm, not let the basement flood. And I just kind of had one of those moments where I just broke down and I was like, I just can't do it this way anymore. I just can't. I needed to take care of myself. I needed to ask for help. I needed to be able to let people in as well as put myself first in a different way so that I could show up better, so that I wasn't always tired, stressed, and overwhelmed. And I found as I started doing some of these things, using the daycare at the gym pre-COVID, using the childcare at the grocery store and taking those little pockets of time for myself, not only was I showing up better, but my kids were more relaxed and happier because I think they could just sense that change, that I wasn't on edge all the time. And so I found over time, as I just kind of talked about these things and went on my merry little way, people would ask me like, how do I do this? Or they'd come up to me and say, oh my gosh, you motivated me to stop and take 20 minutes to myself and read instead of keep going crazy because of what you said or what you were doing. And just to see the impact that the little changes that I took for granted that I was doing for myself could have in helping other women see what was possible for themselves. And that I, not only was I not alone in so many ways, but that we were all kind of looking for that sense of wanting more, wanting to do more for ourselves and show up better and be able to prioritize that self-care was kind of what led to where I am now.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And I do want to go back to a few points. So I think that
Yeah.
so many moms, especially single moms, have that mindset of they need to prove themselves. They need to prove that they could do it all and that they're strong and independent. And do you have any idea, like, where does that pressure and that mindset come from?
Not even just for single moms, but for so many moms. I think we're taught, you can be everything, you can be anything you want to be, you can do it all. But I don't think we're taught that we shouldn't do it all at once. We don't have to do it all, and that we don't have to do it by ourselves. That it's not a badge of honor to drive ourselves into the ground, to constantly be busy. And so to learn, that just because we can work and we can raise a family and we can manage our home life, it's a lot to do, and to not be able to fit in time for ourselves and prioritize that self-care is also something we're not taught. And I think we need to kind of unlearn that mindset of, we're going to bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan. I'm going to maybe order out the bacon tonight, and that's okay too.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I think you're right. I think so many people wear it as a badge of honor, but I think that now just even talking with someone like you and through podcasts and social media, I think that that is kind of shifting. I don't know if you feel that way
Mhm.
too, but I think people are being more open and vulnerable and open to their struggles. And like you said, nobody can do it all. It's so, so much to do. So I think people are becoming more open and honest about that.
Absolutely. I think this culture of sharing our stories, of being more open and vulnerable and kind of putting our guard down, is actually bringing us all together. And it's almost like a collective sigh of relief, like, oh gosh, all right, it's not just me. And making us stronger as far as asking for what we need, doing the things we need to do for ourselves, and going forward with that mindset.
Yes, yes, definitely. I fully agree with that. And I know you talked a little bit about your burnout and overwhelm. Can you dive into that a little bit deeper? Like, at what point did you realize that, hey, I'm burned out? And like, what kind of symptoms were you experiencing at that point?
I wasn't sleeping great. And, I think we take for granted sleep until we don't have it. It's one of those things, we don't miss it until it's gone. So I wasn't sleeping great. I wasn't eating as healthy because, I was taking care of the kids and doing what they needed to do first. And it would be 9 o'clock at night before, I had a chance to sit down. And like I said, we had this storm locally, and I literally was bringing up a bucket of water from my sump pump so that it didn't overflow. I was
Oh,
like, oh my gosh, the kids were upstairs in front of the fireplace, and just trying to do it all. I was like, this is not healthy. This is crazy.
and so you said that, you were trying to do it all and it was very overwhelming. So what were you hiding your struggles? Were you keeping your struggles from your friends and your family and your loved ones, or were you open about your struggles and feeling overwhelmed and burned out?
I was definitely hiding it. I think, because on the outside, I looked like I had it all together. And that's what people were praising. Like, wow, look at you. You've got it, all this, and you're doing so well. And the kids are doing great. And, everyone kind of believed the facade that I was putting up. And honestly, it took one of my neighbors just kind of coming over and doing for me. He plugged in his generator for me, that I was, just able to see that it was okay to accept help. I think until I actually accepted help, I was afraid of what it would feel like and what it would look like to others and what people would think and what it would mean for the friends and family members of the people that, the superhero moms that you see out there. Don't just ask what they need. Sometimes you just got to step in and do, for them
Mhm.
to kind of be open to it and to see what it's like, because that fear is stronger than anything. You realize sometimes fear can be so powerful when you look at its effects on anxiety. Fear, it can hold us back from doing so many things, positive and negative.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I've heard also from people that not only is it the fear of getting that help and the kind of the perception and image, and you feel like maybe you'll look weak or something like that, or that you don't have your stuff together. But I've heard also that if you go to somebody and say, how could I help you? That almost puts on another task for them, another chore, something else that's
Mhm.
overwhelmed. Like they have to think of, what do they need help with? What could I give this person? What task could I give them that's, small enough that I could use the help, but not to burden them. So it's almost an extra thing for them to do. So sometimes stepping in
Absolutely.
is just more helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kind of, you start weighing like, well, I don't want it to seem like I'm taking advantage. I don't want it to seem like I'm pushing my kids off on them. Like we tell ourselves these horrible stories sometimes of what we assume other people are really thinking when that's not the case.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And I'm sure that, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but you probably experienced that a lot with just how you said that you were worried about what people would think and how people were like, oh, you're doing amazing. And having that other thought, what if I do say I need help? And kind of, we do make up all these stories and these ideas of what people might think about us, or maybe they'll think that they had the wrong idea about us or something like that.
Right, right. And your pride is going to keep you from looking like you're not capable of handling things. And so we will, sacrifice so many other things just to put that image in that front out there.
Absolutely. So you got to the point where you were hiding your struggles from your loved ones. You were overwhelmed, you were burnt out, and you just had this moment where you were like, I really need to reach out. I really need help. What if somebody doesn't have that moment and they just keep struggling and they're just so scared and full of that fear and they don't want people to get a bad impression of them or change their opinion of them? What do you say to those moms that really need help, but they're so scared to ask for it?
That's a great question because it varies definitely from person to person as far as, their supports, their networks, what they need. And sometimes, it might not necessarily even be from anybody else, but to be able to give themselves what they need too. Because sometimes it's not about going outside of you, but really coming within you and giving yourself that permission and saying yes to what you need is that first step at getting comfortable to then asking other people. Because if you can't ask yourself for what you need or give yourself what you need, you don't necessarily always feel like you deserve to go to anybody else.
Do you have any tips for moms at how they could get to the point of asking themselves what they need? I know one major, I don't have kids, but I have a lot of friends with kids. And I know one major issue is time, and that you just put your kids first constantly, to the point where a lot of moms don't even shower. They drink their cold coffee. I mean, things like that they feel like they have no time to put any second towards themselves. I mean, what kind of strategies or tips do you have for people from your own experience that maybe could help them a bit?
Personally, I found the more I started to kind of do for myself, give back for myself, it showed my kids actually, and I didn't even realize like what I was teaching them about how I should be treated, what I deserved, what they should then deserve when they were older and parents, and I found as I started to make those shifts, they saw and actually just picked up on it and learned from that. I remember once I came home, my son was older, probably like 11, 12, and he had made me homemade hummus and chips and had them on a tray when I got home because he's like, you've had a busy couple of days, so I thought you could use this, like just to see that he
Aw.
picked up on that shift of doing something for you, doing something for someone else, showed me how worth it was. Or when I started doing activities again and getting together with friends, I came home to, yes, we missed each other and whatnot, but they were like, so what did you do? How was it? They had this curiosity and interest in me being somebody other than just the person that did their laundry, did their food, and was always there with them. And I think that showed them too how to be, a person and multifaceted and have those things. And it actually strengthened our relationship and strengthened kind of that belief system of it's okay, to not be with somebody 100% of the time. I actually just had a post the other day that said quality time with your kids doesn't equal endless time with your kids. And I think we need to, unlearn that mindset of thinking if we're not with our kids 24/7, that we're doing them horrible disservice and being a bad mom, because that's not the case.
Oh, yes, I agree fully. And that is such a great example of modeling for them. I mean, that's amazing, because you're right. Kids do need to learn that and see from their parents. Alone time is so, so important, not only for yourself, but for the relationships in your life as well. Having time with yourself and taking care of yourself, it strengthens your relationships.
Absolutely. So that they learn when they're older and in school and having jobs and things like that, that they don't get burnt down and stressed because all they saw me do was grind myself into the ground.
Yes, exactly. And do you feel that moms have any, especially maybe single moms that do kind of feel like they have everything, the weight of the world on their shoulders? Do you feel that they face any sort of unique struggles when it comes to their mental health?
I think sometimes having that outlet can be really tough, whether it's out of fear of being vulnerable or feeling like you have that space to do that. Obviously, as a social worker, I definitely think we should all be in therapy. Everybody's got a mind, so everybody has mental health, and to break down some of those barriers and stigmas, to realize it's okay to not be okay, or even if you're okay, it's still good to get comfortable talking about how you're doing in general, good, bad, and otherwise. Because I think sometimes too, we hold on the good because we think we shouldn't brag and we need to be more humble, but it's okay to celebrate the good so that, we can learn to focus on the positive, be grateful and have gratitude, so that when things go not so great, that's not where we keep our focus and our energy. So definitely, whether it's through mom groups, your kids' sports activities, whether it's through counseling, whether it's through work groups, whatever outlet you have available to you, to find a place and a way that's comfortable for you, because that's the way that's going to work, is the one that you feel most comfortable in, to be able to share highs, lows, and everything in between.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Do you have any tips for moms that can find any sort of mom groups or supports in their life?
There's so many different things online, especially now with COVID, which can help sometimes making it more comfortable than, walking into a room full of people you don't know. But I think there's a lot of resources online. Many people through their church groups are able to find different things. Schools sometimes with different PTAs and stuff like that have kind of that support network built in. So just depending on what's available in your community, or like I said, depending on where you live, there's so many resources online. It's definitely like you Google the words you're looking for and you could absolutely find what you want.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of Facebook groups too. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of mom Facebook groups, I would imagine.
Yes, and they're so supportive. I've been in a couple of them where I even sometimes am so impressed by how vulnerable and comfortable people are sharing, that it actually inspires me to want to share more and talk more, to see that, the acceptance and the support that you can get from people that you've just talked to through group chats and things like that. So there are definitely a lot out there.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. So again, I want to take it back a little bit. So I want to take it back to that night that there was the storm and you just had that realization that you needed help, you needed change. What were your very next steps to create the change you wanted in your life?
Some of it was definitely just kind of deciding that I was going to take the time to do stuff. I signed up for a gym with some classes so that I would be committed. It wasn't just kind of on my own. A lot of times, you need to invest in order to have that accountability, to have that structure, to have, even like I said, the support of this one, had a babysitter in the gym facility so that I could make it work, even though it was only maybe twice a week, and build from there. So maybe I did that twice a week. Maybe I found time with friends every other weekend when I didn't have my kids, find time to read and to really relook at my alone time, not as lonely, but to look at it as this was my time to recharge, to invest in the things I wanted to do, even if I didn't have anybody else to do it with, and to start, doing new things to help myself feel like I had that recovery time and that recharge necessary.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's really good for people to know because I think a lot of moms probably wouldn't even know where to even begin creating change in their lives, because I think people kind of get stuck in, they have their life. And I think they get stuck in that idea that this is their life and that's it. End of story, period.
Right. Even if it's through, like we said, an online Facebook group, starting new conversations, there's online book clubs, there's ways to do new things, even if it's not physically going out and doing them in person. And sometimes it's an easier way to try something new and see how you feel about it and see if you like it, rather than to just put this pressure on yourself, like I have to do these things.
Yes, yes, definitely. And as for the loved ones, do you have any tips for loved ones of moms or single moms, like things that they can do that may be helpful if they were to step in and offer help? What are some things that they could offer that would be helpful?
I think sometimes it's just the simplest things, whether it's, hey, I'm going to take the kids for an ice cream for 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be long, like here, I'm dropping them off for the whole day, or maybe, it's dropping off dinner. Just the little gestures, I think, are what really help kind of make that difference, show that you care in a way that's not going to make you feel bad for accepting the help, and just, giving that unconditional support that you get, whether you're single or married. Mom life is hard. to kind of step in a way that it doesn't feel like, I know this is going to sound weird, but like charity or, something where they feel like they're being looked down on, but that it's a mutual, like, hey, this is hard and we've got this, so that you feel like it's like that village they talk about, it takes a village to raise your kids. Well, this is how you become part of that village.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And I've been hearing that so much online lately, just it takes a village. I think that we lost that for a really long time, but I think that women are recognizing, moms are recognizing that they need that village. And I think that it is making a comeback. I think people are lending more support. Like you said, even online, strangers who you've never met before are being so supportive. So I think that we are making a shift and that village is making its way back because it is hard. Like you said, mom life is just really, really hard. I mean, you're raising tiny humans. What's harder than that?
Right. And I think one of the things we definitely learned from COVID is that sense of community from going through something together, whether it's going through hard times, going through good times. When you go through experiences together, it definitely helps bond and bring you in that way that you're going to be able to kind of count on these people. You see the things you go through.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Do you have any other tips as for the strategies and routines that you implemented in your life to create the change that you were looking for?
Yeah, definitely. Start small would be my first tip. Don't try and take on a massive life-changing project or these big goals. I think it's going to be harder to maintain, but to look at, maybe one or two things you're interested in changing and starting super small and breaking it down into the tiniest piece that you can add in 10 minutes each day. And I think by starting with a small goal and a small time frame, it makes it more achievable and more attainable to kind of give yourself some grace. Maybe it's not something you start doing every single day, but you start doing it every other day. Again, you're building something small and manageable into your life, as well as then to just kind of have a broader perspective and mindset when it comes to what self-care is going to be able to be. Because I think sometimes it's this buzzword and people think of it as just spa days and massages and getaways. And while those things are great, that's not sustainable on a day-to-day basis. And you need that consistency in order to move the needle and see the change. I always say it's kind of like going to a gym for an hour and expecting to lose 10 pounds. It doesn't work that way. And self-care is the same way. You need to be able to do something every single day. And so to look at not just fitness and movement or time to journal and calm and be relaxed, but also to think about how you sleep, how you eat, how you connect with others, how you think about money, how you manage your time. There's other ways to look at how you can fit in self-care throughout your day. And by kind of stacking, James Clear Atomic Habits talks about habit stacking. And so being able to stack those different moments throughout your day is how you create more of like a cohesive system and web of self-care that goes all day long.
Oh, absolutely. And I've talked about Atomic Habits recently on the podcast because I recently just read it and it's such a great book. I recommend it to everybody because everybody has a habit they want to implement or a habit they want to break. It has unlimited tips. I mean, that was a great book.
It's so actionable. I'm going back to read it again, actually, because it is one of those things where it's not just one thing. The more of a habit you make it, the more habitual it is, and automated it is, the less you have to think about it. And it becomes one less thing on your plate, even though you're getting so much more benefit from it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. I love the way you put that. And do you have any other mindset tips for moms?
Definitely. I think those mean girls in your head, the one that are telling you you're not good enough, you can't do it, that you have to do those things. We all have, these conversations that run in our head. They say, we're the person we talk to most in our entire lives. And yet half of the things we say to ourselves, we would never say to somebody else. Or if one of our girlfriends came to us saying these things, we would definitely be like, oh my gosh, roll that back. That's not true. We would be so much more supportive and reaffirming. And to learn how to talk to ourselves like we talk to the people we love is, again, one of those mindset shifts when it comes to being able to give ourselves grace, being able to give ourselves the space to let things go, to be able to allow things in and just make those changes. Mindset is definitely, it's a lifelong process and there's so many different pieces to incorporate in it, but to definitely, look at intentionally focusing on your mindset is the first step to changing it.
Absolutely. Yes, I fully agree. Well, Daniela, thank you so much for this. I think this is so helpful for moms to hear. I think that with your experience that you're able to help them with these mindset shifts and strategies that they could implement. I think this was really, really helpful. Do you have any other words of advice or wisdom for our listeners? And can you tell them where to find you?
Nobody's life is going to be perfect, but you're going to have the perfect life for you. And just to be willing to always be improving and investing in yourself is how you're going to be able to take those steps to create the life that you want. I'm on Instagram at Bestie Life as well as on Facebook. And so if your listeners have any questions, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you guys. I have a freebie. I think you have the link for it, Desiree, the Chaos to Calm Mom framework, where I outline the specific steps to help work you through this shift to go from overwhelm, burnout, and chaos to that day that flows with ease and breathing room.
Yes, awesome. Daniela, thank you so much. And everyone, go check out Daniela. All of her links are going to be in the show notes. So definitely go check her out. Daniela, thank you so much.
Thanks, Desiree. I'll talk to you soon.
Daniela, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story. I think it was so helpful for people to hear and really, really valuable. Everybody, I hope that you really enjoyed this episode and took a lot from it. And whether you're a mom or not, I think that Daniela's mindset tips and strategies that you can implement in your life are really, really helpful. So I hope that this helped you. Again, go check out Daniela. Everything is in the show notes. I would really, really appreciate it if you shared this episode. You could tag me on social media. And if you went into iTunes and left me a review, that would be really helpful to spread the word of my podcast and get my ratings up. I would be so grateful. This is the month of self-love. So if you are interested in joining my 5-day self-love challenge, check out the link in the show notes, and that challenge will be emailed to you every single day. Go sign up because we could all do with loving ourselves some more. So go check that out. Again, the link is in the show notes. All right, I will see you soon with another amazing guest.